Episode 1. The Voice Between the Drops. I was 12 the first time the rain spoke to me. Not in a dream, not in a whisper of wind or a gut feeling. No, it spoke, clearly, directly, as if the storm had a mouth. It happened the night of my grandmother's funeral. The entire town of Eldersbean was drenched, as if the sky mourned louder than we ever could. I stood under the crooked oak near her porch, the rain hitting the leaves in strange rhythms. And then I heard it, run before your 16th birthday. The voice didn't sound like my own thoughts. It was wet, hollow, almost, echoing from within the storm. I frowned. See, I thought I was losing it. My sister was inside. My mother was crying over lukewarm tea. And outside, the rain was warning me of something I didn't understand. I didn't tell anyone, not then, because how do you explain to your family that you're hearing the weather predict your death? Years passed. I tried to forget. I told myself it was grief, trauma, maybe a child's way of coping with loss, until the rain came again on my 15th birthday, heavier than ever before. That night, the voice returned. You're not ready, but you must become ready. This time, it brought more than just words. It brought her. I saw her through the kitchen window, barefoot, soaked, standing at the edge of the field. She looked my age but had no shadow, no breath. Her eyes didn't blink. She raised her hand slowly and pointed straight at me. And I swear to you, I felt my heart freeze in my chest. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I blinked once, and she was gone. I knew then, this wasn't just a haunting. It was a countdown for 100 days until I turned 16. The voice was right. I wasn't ready, but something in the rain was coming for me. And whatever it was, it knew exactly who I'd become. Episode 2. The rain that remembered my name. The second time it rained that summer, it didn't fall. It crawled. The drops weren't normal. There was a slowness to them, as if time itself had paused to watch me. I stood in my backyard, eyes fixed on the sky, feeling like the entire storm had chosen me as its audience. And then it happened again. Elara. The rain said my name, not whispered, not imagined, spoken, soft, familiar, and utterly wrong. It was my grandmother's voice, but she'd been dead for 3 years. I should have run inside, locked the doors, pretended none of this was real. But I couldn't move. The air around me was thick, heavy with something unspoken, like the storm was pressing its mouth against my ear, waiting for me to listen. Then I heard footsteps behind me, low, barefoot, wet. I turned. She was back. The girl. Same dress, same lifeless eyes. But this time, her lips were moving, and though I couldn't hear a word, I could feel what she was saying. Don't let them bury the truth. I took one step toward her and the world shattered. The trees screamed. The ground split. Thunder cracked like bones breaking in the sky. But it wasn't outside. It was inside me. A scream I didn't know I'd been holding finally ripped out of my chest. And then silence. She vanished again, but something remained. A wet, folded piece of paper on the ground. I picked it up with shaking hands. Inside was a date, scribbled in crimson ink, August 17th. And beneath it, one sentence. That's the night the rain will take you back. Take me where? Back when? The paper dissolved in my hands as soon as I read it. Just melted into the grass. I haven't slept since. And every time it rains now, I don't hear the sky. I hear her calling my name over and over, as if she's not wanting me anymore, but calling me home. Episode 3. Whispers beneath the umbrella. There are two kinds of storms in Eldersbean. The ones that pass, and the ones that linger. That morning, the sky looked bruised. Heavy clouds hung like secrets no one dared to speak. I carried my umbrella to school not because of the forecast, but because the air felt wrong, thicker, hungrier. Everyone else walked in silence. Even the birds stayed quiet. At 11:13 a.m., the rain began. Not a downpour, a drizzle, soft enough to be ignored. But I knew better. As soon as the first drop touched the top of my umbrella, I heard them. She's almost ready. A voice, a no. Voices inside the canopy. Male, female, child. A chorus of ghosts. My fingers gripped the handle tighter. My classmates passed me in the hallway, unaware that just above my head, something ancient was watching me. I stepped outside during lunch, the only one stupid enough to walk the track in the rain. But I had to know, had to hear. I tilted the umbrella slightly and let the edge catch more droplets. The clock turns red at dusk. They will forget her, but she will remember everything. She died before. She'll die again. Each sentence carved itself into me like a blade of ice. My heart pounded against my ribs, screaming at me to run. But curiosity, no. Obsession kept me still. Then came the whisper that wasn't like the others. It came from just behind my ear. Look left. I did. She was standing on the football field, soaked to the bone, eyes darker than midnight. This time, she smiled, and I swear, the rain stopped around her. Not a drop touched her skin. Like the sky obeyed her, she raised her hand slowly and pressed one finger to her lips. A silent shhh, and then just like cowish disappeared. But this time, I wasn't alone. There was a boy, staring from the bleachers, soaked, pale, eyes wide. I approached him. You saw her, didn't you? I asked. He nodded, and then he whispered something that made my blood turn to stone. She told me your death isn't yours, it's hers, and she's coming to reclaim it. Episode 4, The Boy Who Dreamed of Drowning. His name was Jonah, and 3 nights after we spoke, he stopped breathing in his sleep. No bruises, no wounds, just stillness, like something had pressed pause on his lungs and never hit play again. The town called it an accident, said he had a condition, but I knew better, because the night he died, it rained, and in the rain he heard him scream. Not a loud, desperate wail, a drowned scream, muffled, choking, as if the water had climbed into his throat and refused to leave. I didn't sleep after that. I couldn't, because every time I shut my eyes, I saw his face blue, empty, floating beneath the surface of my dreams, and always, just above him, smiling, as if he'd taken my place. The next day, I found something behind the school, tucked into the crevice of an old oak tree, wrapped in layers of plastic and cloth. Jonah's journal. I should have turned it in, given it to his parents, but the moment I touched it, the rain began again without clouds, without thunder, just rain, falling from a sky that was supposed to be clear. So I opened the journal. The last page was soaked, but the ink bled just enough for me to read. She visits me at the lake. She says the water remembers who we were before we were born. She says Elara was meant to drown. I told her I'd take her place. I didn't think she meant it. I dropped the book. And behind me, the puddles whispered, he tried to save you. Now you owe the storm. The guilt wrapped around my throat like a second skin. I hadn't asked him to interface. Hadn't wanted him to, but now I felt it shifting in the air, like something had changed the rules. Like the future the rain had once warned me about was no longer mine alone. Episode 5, The Mirror That Leaked Rainwater. There's something wrong with the mirror in my room. It started the morning after Jonah died. I stepped out of the shower, wiped the fog from the glass, and there it was, a single droplet, sliding down the inside of the mirror, not the outside inside. I blinked, leaned in, and touched the glass. Dry, but the droplet moved anyway, as if gravity applied to reflections now, as if the mirror was remembering the rain. Later that night, I saw it again, not a drop this time, a ripple, like someone had skipped a stone across the glass. And just for a breath, I saw a face, not mine, not even human. It looked ancient, hollow eyes, a jaw that shouldn't move, grinning to wide. Then came the voice, her voice muffled like it was underwater. The mirror is not for vanity. It is a window, and someone on the other side is waiting. I screamed. My mother ran in, but the mirror looked normal again. When I told her, she pressed a hand to my forehead, whispering about grief and trauma and too much rain lately. But I knew that mirror had become a gate. That night, I stayed up, watching it at 3:03 a.m. It wept. Raindrops trickled upward inside the glass. And then the girl drowned. Girl emerged. She didn't walk. She glided. Her hands were soaked, dripping onto my carpet. Even though the room was dry, she pointed at the mirror, then at me. Then she opened her mouth slow, trembling, and what poured out wasn't words. It was rain, cold, heavy, endless. My room began to flood. I stumbled back, gasping, slipping on my own floor. And in the water, I saw reflections that weren't mine. An old woman with stitches for lips, a boy with empty sockets, and me, floating, lifeless. The girl knelt beside me, still smiling, and whispered one final phrase before vanishing. When mirrors bleed rain, the past is calling you back. I woke up in bed, dry, shivering, no water, no girl, but the mirror, still leaking. Episode 6, The Rain Forgot to Stop. It rained for 7 days straight. No thunder, no lightning, just rain, gentle, steady, relentless. By day 3, the streets of Elderspeed were half flooded. By day 5, school was cancelled. And by day 7, people started whispering again. Not about the weather, about me, because everywhere I went, the storm followed. Umbrellas flipped inside out when I passed. Drains overflowed at my feet. And the strangest part, every time I stepped outside, my clothes stayed dry, but the air around me dripped, like the rain was avoiding me, or maybe waiting. On the 7th night, I couldn't sleep. I stood by my window, watching the downpour. Then I saw it, across the street, in the center of the flood-swollen road. A girl stood barefoot, drenched in moonlight, her eyes locked on mine. Same girl, always the same girl, but this time she moved. She turned slowly and began to walk, not toward me, away, into the storm, and something inside me snapped. I threw on my jacket, rushed outside, and followed her. The water hit my ankles, then my knees. I didn't care. I had to know who she was, what she wanted, why the rain spoke her name in mine. She walked with purpose, never turning, never slowing, until she reached the old road leading into the woods road. They closed years ago after the landslide, and then she vanished. No splash, no sound, just gone. I stood there, breathless, staring at the spot where she disappeared. That's when I heard the new voice, a man's voice, raspy, cold, like wet gravel in the throat. You shouldn't be here, Elara. I spun around. He stood beneath a tree, soaked hat, long coat, face half shadow. Who are you? I demanded. He didn't answer. He stepped forward, and the rain around him hissed like it was burning. You weren't supposed to follow her. She leads you to the place where time ends, the place where your name was never yours. Then he raised one hand and pointed behind me. If you cross that line, you'll hear more than your future. You'll hear what you forgot you did. A flash of lightning struck, just one, blinding. When I looked again was gone, only the rain remained. And this time, it didn't feel like weather. It felt like a trap. Episode 7, The House That Rained Inside. I didn't know the house existed until the rain led me there. It wasn't on any map. No address, no path, just trees, thick and ancient, parting for something they didn't dare touch. It sat crooked, slumped like it had exhaled for the last time a century ago. Moss covered its walls like skin. The windows were blacked out, but not broken like they were hiding something alive behind them. The girl who was already at the front door. She didn't knock. She didn't need to. The door opened on its own, and I followed her in. Inside, it smelled like wet soil and something older, something forgotten. The walls were warped, the wallpaper peeling in curls like paper towns. But what struck me first was the sound. Rain, inside, not leaking, falling, from the ceiling, from nowhere. A quiet shower of droplets drifted down and vanished before they hit the floor. They never touched me. They floated around me like they recognized their creator. Then I saw the photos, down scenes, hundreds, framed in water-damaged glass, lining the halls like a museum of sorrow. All of them black and white, all of them wet, each one showing people I'd never seen before, except one. My face, staring back at me. Only it wasn't me, not exactly. Older, dressed in clothes from another century, standing in a field with a drowned girl, holding hands, my throat closed. I moved to another photo, a different version of me, eyes hollow, rain dripping from my chin, and scrawled beneath it in red ink, Elara Bellwether, drowned, August 17th, reborn every cycle, never remembers. I stumbled back, a cold hand caught my wrist. Her hand, the girl stood behind me, her voice barely a breath. You were always the storm. Then she stepped aside, and there it was, at the end of the hall. A mirror, not mine, the mirror. Its surface rippled like water, and inside it, I saw myself. But I was smiling, and my eyes weren't mine anymore. I backed away. The house groaned. The rain inside began to rise. Not far ice like reverse gravity had been waiting for me to remember. As the water crept up my ankles, she whispered one last thing. When the house finishes raining, you remember who died and who didn't. Episode 8, August 17th never ends. They say time is a river, but mine is a flood, and it always ends on the same day, August 17th. It's not just a date anymore. It's a location, a place the rain drags me back to, again and again. No matter how far I run, how hard I scream, it finds me and brings me there. The first time I noticed the loop, I thought it was a dream. My alarm buzzed at 7:04 a.m. My mother yelled from downstairs. The same toast burned in the same toaster. And the rain, it began at exactly 10:11. Every detail, identical. I tested it, marked my arm with a blade of glass. Bled, slept, woke up, mark gone. Next day, I tried staying up. 2 a.m. passed, 3, 4. At 5:56, I blinked, and when I opened my eyes, I was back in bed. August 17th. Again, the town doesn't notice. They smile the same, talk the same. They belong to the loop. But the girl, she watches every cycle. She appears sooner. This morning, she stood in the hallway mirror before I even left my room. Her hair hung in soaked ropes. Her dress clung to her like a funeral shroud. And this time she spoke aloud. You're waking up, Elara. but you must drown again before you remember why. My chest tightened. Why me? I asked. She tilted her head, and her eyes weren't hers anymore. They were mine, because it was you who asked for this. You begged to forget. The rain is just giving you what you wanted. I ran out the door, past the fields, toward the old woods, and the rain followed, not behind me, but around me. Trees blurred, roads vanished, the sky opened, and thunder cracked like it was laughing. I reached the lake, the one where Jonah died, and there on the shore was a dress. My dress, soaked, mud-stained, familiar, and beside it, a stone, engraved with a name I wasn't ready to read. Elara. Born August 17th, 2007. Died August 17th, 2023. My legs gave out. My breath stopped. And from the water, I heard her voice one last time. You didn't survive. You just refused to let go. Then the lake reached for me, and I let it. Episode 9. The girl who watched herself die. I watched myself drown, not in a dream, not in some blurry, half-remembered nightmare. I watched it happen, as if I were both the girl in the water and the one on the shore. It began with a reflection. The lake was unnaturally still, like glass holding its breath. I leaned forward, half expecting to see the girl again. But I saw me, not how I look now but how I looked then, with hair tangled across my cheeks, lips blue, eyes open but unblinking. And slowly, ever so slowly, that reflection began to sink, not fat as sink, pulled downward by invisible hands. I should have screamed, should have turned away, but I couldn't, because the moment she disappeared beneath the surface, I remembered everything. That night, a choice, the lie. We were both at the lake Mentor, the girl with my face, my name, my past. We were never two different people. We were one, split by regret. I had begged the rain to forget, begged it to wash away the screams, the guilt, the truth, and it did. But the price was high. In my place, it left behind her drowned version of me, a memory wrapped in skin, cursed to haunt the ripples and the thunder, waiting for the day I'd be brave enough to remember. And now I had, now I saw. The cycle wasn't about fate. It wasn't about prophecy. It was about choice. You let her die to save yourself, the wind whispered, and now she wants her turn. I stepped into the lake. The water was ice, not cold biting, like it remembered my betrayal. Welcome me home? Each step deeper pulled the world away, until only the rain remained, falling sideways, backward, inside me. Then I saw her just beneath the surface, waiting, smiling, and for the first time, I reached for her. Our hands touched, and in that single moment, I felt everything I had buried, the fear, the pain, the silence, and the scream that had never escaped my lips the night I let us die. I pulled her up, or maybe she pulled me down. I don't know anymore, but when I opened my eyes, it wasn't raining. Episode 10. The day the rain refused to fall. The town held its breath. For the first time in weeks, no clouds swirled above Elderspean, no mist clung to the windows, no whispers echoed from storm gutters. It was silent, too silent. Even the birds didn't return. When I woke up, my window was open. A breeze moved through the curtains like a hand searching for something, but the air felt wrong, empty, like it had forgotten how to carry sound. No rain, no drizzle, not even dew. I stepped outside. The world looked frozen in place, as if nature itself had been told to pause and wait. The trees didn't sway, the shadows didn't shift, and for the first time since I was 12, I didn't hear the storm call my name. But peace was never meant for me. I walked down the road, expecting to see people out, celebrating the sudden sun. But there were no voices, no cars, no footsteps. Elderspean was abandoned, or pretending to be. The only sound was my heartbeat and something quieter. Underneath it, a tick, barely audible. I followed it to the school. The door stood open, swinging just slightly, as if someone had only recently stepped inside. Inside, everything was as we left it. Lunch trays, backpacks, desks, but in the middle of the hallway, someone had scrawled something on the floor in soaked red ink. If the rain stops, you re-out of time. And beneath it, a single date, August 17th. But this time, it was crossed out, over and over, dozens of times. Then, one final message appeared at the bottom. You broke the cycle, Elara, but something else is waking. Suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me. Low, deliberate. I turned hard, hammering. It wasn't the girl this time. It was me. Another version. Older, hollow-eyed, dressed in black, soaked from a rain that wasn't falling. And she spoke in my voice. You escaped the storm, but the silence is worse. because silence remembers what even the rain tried to forget. She lifted a hand. In her palm was a match. She struck it against the wall and the fire flared. And in that tiny flame, I saw everything. Not just what I'd done, but what I'd become. And as the flame grew brighter, the sky screamed, and rain returned. Episode 11. When the fire touched the rain. Fire isn't supposed to survive rain, but that night, it did. The flame from her match didn't flicker. It fed on the silence, on the guilt, on the storm that tried so hard to bury what I once was. It crackled like it was alive, and when it touched the floor, the hallway didn't burn. It remembered. The walls peeled back, revealing something beneath the school's second hallway, older than the town itself, stone-lined, pulsing with heat and moisture like a buried lung. The other mesh ascended without fear. I followed. Each step down felt like falling deeper into a memory I had never fully owned. And yet, the moment I reached the final stair, I knew this place, the rain room. That's what they used to call it. When I was a child, I had nightmares about an underground chapel soaked in steam and shadow, where the dead were drenched until they forgot who they were. But this wasn't a dream. The ceiling above me dripped with endless water. Candles burned beneath the drops and never went out. And at the center of the stone chamber, a mirror, cracked, bleeding, the same one from the house. From my bedroom, from her. The other Elara stood before it, holding the match, the flame still burning. Do you know why the rain always came, even when the sky was dry? She asked. I didn't answer, because I didn't know. It wasn't rain. It was memory, liquid and alive, punishing me again and again for what I begged the storm to forget. She turned to me. You gave your pain to the weather, and it rained guilt for years. But fire isn't forgiveness. Fire is truth. She touched the flame to the mirror, and it screamed. Not a shatter, not a crack, a voice, thousands of them, all versions of me, crying, pleading, drowning again and again in their own storms. The mirror melted into a pool, and from it rose the girl, the first one, the drowned version. Her eyes met mine soft this time. Tired, she didn't reach for me. She knelt and whispered, You're ready now, burn it, and it. I looked at the flame in my own hand. It was no longer a match. It was a candle, lit by grief, held by choice. And as I dropped it into the water, the rain above me turned to ash. Episode 12. The rain will never speak again. The moment the candle touched the pool, the room held its breath. The fire didn't hiss. It sank, like it belonged there. And when it disappeared beneath the surface, the mirror was left of it shattered into silence. Real silence. For the first time since I was 12, the rain stopped, not paused, not drifted. It ceased. No echo, no whisper, just stillness. The drowned girl looked at me one last time, her eyes softer than ever. She no longer seemed like a ghost. She wasn't haunting. She was healing. You finally stayed, she said. Not to run, not to remember, but to forgive. And then she did something I didn't expect. She smiled and let go. Her body dissolved into steam, rising toward the ceiling like the last drop of storm meeting the sun. The other meth shadow Elara, the one who'd walked through mirrors and burned the silence as stepped forward. Her features flickered, twisting between versions of myself I could barely recognize. There will be no more loops, she said, but the world will still try to reign inside you. You must never let it drown you again. I asked her, with a voice that barely felt mine. Are you me, or was I always you? She tilted her head, like a question left unanswered for too long. You were the girl who ran. I was the one who stayed. Now, we are both free. She touched my forehead with her fingertip, and just like that she was gone. No smoke, no echo, only me, alone in the chamber of rain and fire, surrounded by the quiet. I walked up the stairs, feeling each step with unfamiliar weight like I had returned to a body I hadn't worn in years. Outside, the town breathed again. Kids laughed, wind danced with leaves. The sun warmed the pavement like an apology. My mother hugged me without asking why I was gone, because the storm wasn't hers to see. That night, I stood beneath a sky so clear it felt impossible. I waited, no droplets, no voice, no girl, only the sound of my own heart. Finally, only mine. The rain will never speak again, but I will. And this time I will not whisper,